Good afternoon, and boy, do we have a show for you today. Welcome to Pyramid Parent Talk. I'm Karen Harper Royal.
And I'm Lynn Farlow.
We're parents with Community Parent Resource Center, providing information and support to parents of children with special needs in New Orleans. Pyramid Community Parent Resource Center provides one-to-one assistance, workshops on special education law, positive behavior support, and advocacy skills. You can reach us on the web at www.pyramidparentcenter.org or hit us up on Twitter. That's at PyramidCPRC. If you're having some problems with the public school system and you're a parent of a child with a disability, give us a call on our helpline, 504-899-1505. And today we're discussing special education in charter schools. Are they serving all of our children? If you'd like to join the discussion, give us a call at 504-942-8853. The number to call in and join the discussion is 504-942-8853. Lynn, we get a lot of calls from parents. And now with so many of our schools, charter schools, what kind of calls are we getting in that seem to be specifically germane to charter schools and children with disabilities?
Well, many of our calls are for parents who are either their children are in charter schools and they have a child with a disability and they're told that they can't get the proper kinds of services at the charter school that they're in. And a lot of times parents feel the need to move their child because they can't get this. And we encourage, instead of moving their child, that they get to know the law and what their rights are and get what they need from the school where they are instead of them having to move all around the place. And go ahead, Karen.
No, I was just going to ask you, and when you're constantly moving a child with a disability, that seems to be the way things are now in New Orleans. If you don't like the school, choose another one. But why is that particularly a problem for a child with a disability?
Because transitions are hard. And sometimes for some children, transition takes half a year to get into the groove. So if you're bouncing around from school to school, that child will never transition, never become comfortable. Last year we had a parent who had a child with severe kinds of things going on with their disability, and the school that they wanted her child to go to, she just simply did not want that child there. So we helped her get into another school, and fortunately for that child, he was able to transition and is doing pretty good right now. We have calls from, I'm thinking of one parent where her child is diagnosed with ADHD, but she really thinks the child has autism. And this child is also a runner. So this child got away from school. And this parent had been asking for an evaluation and asked for other things. And the school simply just did not do it. And that's unacceptable.
Absolutely.
Because you're a charter school, but that doesn't stop you or give you a right to say to parents, well, we can't do this for your child.
Now, we've always had problems with schools providing services to children with disabilities, but it seems after Katrina, it's different. We're having some different kind of problems. I don't ever remember parents having issues with having a school for their child to go to. Do you remember that?
Never. That was never the issue. We could actually go into schools and make a difference, whereas now, it's more difficult to do that for parents. And just simply trying to get a child in school, that shouldn't be.
Or even keeping a child in school. Never have I talked to so many parents as I have in these times, where parents just took the child out of the school. And I'm like, okay, didn't truancy or somebody come and tell you need to put your child in school? But it seems that with the kind of system, this fragmented public school system we have, it seems that when a child with special needs is out of school, nobody seems to be following up to find out, hey, wait a minute, your child didn't go to school last year.
Right, and so the parents are not getting anything in writing from schools. So it's the children are just hanging out there in limbo.
Yeah, and as you know, I just rushed over here. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I was at an IEP meeting for a child from a charter school. This child has not been to school yet. And so hopefully we'll know where this child will be going to school by the end of the meeting. But, I had to leave in the middle of it. School started last week, and the child is not in school. And I just wonder how many other parents are out there. So, I mean, if you are a parent or you know of a child with special needs who is not in school, school has started for pretty much all of the public schools, whether they're charter schools or traditional schools. School has started, and your child should be in school. Give us a call here at WBOK, 504-942-8853. That is the temporary call-in line while they're getting the phone straight over here at WBOK. We want to hear your story about what you're going through. We definitely get calls on our Pyramid Helpline. Some of you may remember that there was a special education lawsuit filed by the Southern Poverty Law Center against the state of Louisiana. Because children with disabilities were not being served. And recently, the Southern Poverty Law Center has updated some of the information in that lawsuit. It's been 3 years. And so a lot of times people think, oh, well, I'll just sue and get some justice. But it takes a while to get some justice, even in a lawsuit situation. But if you are continuing to have problems and you think that you do need a lawyer, you can definitely contact the Southern Poverty Law Center at 504-486-8982 if you think that you need to be a part of that lawsuit. But in the meantime, we do highly suggest that you try to work out the issues in terms of trying to get your child in school. Don't wait on the lawsuit, because as I said, this has been going on for it'll be 3 years in October since this lawsuit was filed. Just give us a call at Pyramid or give Southern Poverty Law Center a call if you have a child who's not in school. Or call us here at the station and tell us about the situation, and we'll see what we can do to move you towards some help. Some of what we know with a lot of our schools when it comes to serving children with disabilities is that they have super, super high suspension rates at some of the charter schools. I see we have our first caller. We'll get into what those suspension rates are right after we take this call. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Karen.
Hi.
My question is, a lot of schools, especially after Katrina, the charter schools didn't seem to have, if any, program in place to meet special needs. They oftentimes didn't have staff, or staff were, had funny credentials. And you talk about the Southern Action Poverty Center has filed a suit against the state of Louisiana, and you still have schools with new staff, in an uproar, and you're not ready to serve the needs of the kids, of regular kids, let alone kids that demand special services. So, Karen, in your honest opinion, what's allowing this? How has this not, been turned on its head by now?
Well, I'll tell you what is allowing this, in my own opinion, is that the state of Louisiana has really pulled back on their monitoring and oversight of special education. I truly believe they are so invested in this charter school experiment working that they've kind of turned their eyes the other way. Even under the weight of the lawsuit, and they are currently in and out of the court system as they go through this lawsuit, we are still seeing ridiculous suspension rates. We still have parents who say that they'll go to a school to see what kind of services they have in place before they fill out the one app. And the school might say, well, we don't have a elevator if your child's in a wheelchair. That's just the fact of the matter. Some schools don't have elevators, and they are charter schools, and they get to get away with not serving a kid in a wheelchair. Or they may say, well, we don't really have a whole lot of kids here with autism. You might not want to choose this school. so then parents don't put it on the one app. So the state is actually, in my opinion, and you know, when you look at how they've changed some of their procedures also, so it's not just my opinion, their procedures are proof that they are doing a lot less on the ground monitoring of what charter schools are doing, and they don't seem to have a system in place of picking up the kids who fall through the cracks because for whatever reason they're no longer at the charter school. So that's why the Southern Poverty Law Centers filed this lawsuit. Because
well, let me ask you a question. Okay, so just like what you're saying, in order for all that to happen in 8 years down the line, it seems to be it's not just ending with the state. There seems to have been buy-in all the way up to me, way back into the No Child Left Behind or any other legislation passed in this administration. I mean, you know, even through the White House.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Something is going on that's allowing this to trickle down to the parents, you know, all the way up the chain.
I totally agree, and because of the lawsuit being in place, the United States Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, that's the entity that is supposed to investigate violations of our children's civil rights, our children with disabilities, and other areas as well. But because of the lawsuit being in place, complaints that have been filed since that lawsuit was filed 3 years ago, complaints that have been filed with the Dallas office of OCR, that's the Office of Civil Rights, people have been told that they have to wait until this lawsuit is resolved through the court system before OCR will get involved. Now, that's a problem. And the U.S. Department of Education need to step in and say, wait a minute, we can't be putting these kids on hold like this. I mean, it's 3 years.
Unless they're part of the problem.
Well, they are part of the problem, I believe. Because, you know, understand, privatizing public education comes, charter schools and that kind of thing. That is part of the Arne Duncan administration's goal. It's part of Race to the Top. Right. So, while I do believe that Louisiana is complicit in looking the other way, it looks like even all the way up, we have some concern about how vigorous complaints inside of New Orleans are being investigated.
There's something evil undermining, where it's something so obvious that's going on, and no one beyond, you know what I'm saying, your activism and maybe a few lawyers here and there, no one seems to take this on with gnashing teeth. It's very similar to how Road Home is just, is just being given lip service, but it doesn't go beyond the state of Louisiana.
Well, I think what people do need to realize that there is another option that they can engage in. If you are fairly certain that your rights are being violated, you may want to get an attorney, a private attorney, and file a complaint based on, not a complaint, a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, an individual federal lawsuit based on a violation of the Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act. Talk with an attorney to see if you do indeed have a case, and that would be separate and apart from the Southern Poverty Law Center's lawsuit that's working its way. That's one way. But the other way is to become knowledgeable as parents about what your rights are. Because, as a parent myself, over these last 21 years, with only about 15 of them being where I felt like I had any real knowledge about what I was doing, when I got to be knowledgeable and started going to workshops with Pyramid and going to workshops with families, helping families and learning my rights, I was able to get things put in place. That's the path of least resistance. educating yourself as a parent as to what your rights are. Because what we say at Pyramid, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. So that's the path of least resistance, educating yourself. And when schools see that you're not going to just back down and turn the other way, they do tend to step up their game and do what they need to do. Sometimes as parents, we have to help them know what it is they need to do. But then again, the responsibility falls back on us of if you have a child with whatever kind of disability, you need to educate yourself on that and become an expert in it so that you can go in here and show these schools. Because as you said, David, some of the schools, they act like they don't have the right personnel in place.
Right.
And I have offered to do workshops for school personnel before, going way back into the late 1990s, early 2000s, when the school didn't know what to do for my oldest son. I'm like, okay, I learned what I need to do, and then I went and I showed the school. And about 2 years after he left that school, they were calling me back to come help them do it for another child. And so, I'm not the kind of person who likes to fall back on being a victim, and I don't think our parents should feel like victims. As long as you do, you put it into your own hands and step it up, take on your responsibility to learn what you need to learn, especially about your rights, and hold people's feet to the fire for doing what the law says they must do. You're halfway there. You're still going to have some of these hard heads who don't want to listen. But I think an informed parent is a very, very dangerous weapon when it comes to these schools that just don't want to serve children with disabilities.
Let me ask you something. Thank you for your time. I'm going to get off after I answer the question. My phone's about to die. But have you done, or would you, consider going around to the schools? I know schools has already started, but doing at a parent open house or something like that, speaking of just what you just said, making sure parents are aware of what the school is supposed to be offering them, what it's supposed to look like, what the personnel, the credentials that they're supposed to have. If you had an opportunity to speak to the parents and the faculty at some type of, beginning of the year function, is that something that you all have been doing? I don't want to put anything on your plate, but you know what I mean.
Well, it's not something that we have been doing. I have not found that schools really welcome us coming in too much.
David, prior to most of the schools becoming charter, we used to do some of that. Mm-hmm. But since, as of last year, we're pretty much haven't been contacted by schools.
But also, David, this is why we're doing this radio show, because we want to bring the information to the people. We have ongoing workshops and trainings. We have an advocacy training coming up on September 17th. But next Tuesday from 10 o'clock until noon, parents who want more information, they can meet us over at CC's Coffee Shop over on Esplanade Avenue. And, we provide one-to-one support to parents. So if you know of parents who may need more information, they don't have to wait for the school to invite us in. We are totally accessible with our small group parent meetings a couple of times a month, as well as our workshops that we offer that are topic specific. And so the next workshop coming up is September 17th, and it's going to be at the Rosa Keller Library, and we'll be teaching advocacy skills. Okay, well, David, we need to move on. Well, thank you very much for calling in, and call in again.
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to get in a little bit because parents need to know this information when they're choosing a school for their children. We have seen large numbers of children being placed on alternate assessment when it comes time to do the LEAP at some of these schools. So if they remove the kids who have disabilities from their regular LEAP results, then their test scores look better. So if you're about to choose a school for your child, you need to know what is the percentage of children at that school with disabilities taking the regular assessment. And some schools have some extremely low percentages of children taking the regular LEAP assessment. I'm looking at a chart here. One school in particular, James Singleton Charter School, only 32% of their children with disabilities are taking the regular assessment. Now, the federal government said that you can only exempt 2% of your kids. So that is something you need to definitely be on the lookout. Harney School, only 33% of their kids are taking a regular assessment. Success Prep Charter School, little less than half of their kids are taking a regular assessment. That's problematic. And so when you're about to choose a school for your child, you need to ask, what's the problem with that? One of the reasons that's a huge problem, I just spoke to a parent yesterday whose child is on alternate assessment and his child's in high school now. That child's not going to get a regular diploma. And, you know, when you have children who just have behavior issues or learning disabilities, there's no reason they should be on alternate assessment and not on a regular diploma track. That's not going to afford them the opportunity to go to a four-year college without having to go to a technical school or to a community college and get a lot of remedial courses first. So parents definitely need to be on the up and up about the numbers of students at these schools on alternate assessment. And the other big thing I wanted to talk about regarding children with disabilities at charter schools is the super high suspension rates at some of these schools. But if you can believe it, so we have a school here that has only 5.2% of the children at the school are special needs kids. But of that 5.2%, they suspend 72% of their special needs kids.
So that's their intervention.
Yeah, I mean that's I'm sorry. I have lied on MAC 40. I'm looking in the wrong column. I'm sorry. They suspend 26%, as if that's any better. I mean, it's a little better than 72%, but they suspend 26% of their kids, a quarter of their kids. New Orleans College Prep has 12.4% special needs kids. They suspend 57% of their kids with disabilities. Psi Academy, people often talk about how wonderful they are, and they suspend 47% of their kids. We have a call. Please, anonymous. Hi.
Ms. Royal, I'd like to just thank you for helping me out. You didn't know that you helped me, but a long time ago, maybe about 8, 9, 10 years ago, I heard you speaking at an Upward Bound program for kids with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I piggyback on what you did for your son and stood up for my son and got him through high school. And if it wasn't for you, I really don't know what I would have done because I didn't know which way I was going.
Oh, well, thank you.
And they
Has
gave me the
he
blues, but
finished
I fought
school
him
now?
tooth and nail, and my son graduated
Oh,
because
wonderful.
I refused to let him be left behind.
Oh, I am so glad you called in because, you know, sometimes we never get to hear the stories of how it turned out.
I can't wait to meet you in person.
Oh,
again,
well,
'cause
come
I
to
saw
our
you at
small
the
group
Upward Bound
meeting.
program, but you spoke there.
Yeah, come to our small group meeting next
To a
week.
meeting or something and meet you, and then one day, hopefully, I'll join in with the crusade with you all.
Okay, well, you know, we'll be at the CC's Coffee Shop on Esplanade Avenue next Tuesday from 10 until noon.
And it's good for other parents to hear those kind of stories.
It absolutely is good.
Okay, thanks a million.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
So thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye. Oh, well, that was good to hear. Because, you know, we get the calls when people are having problems, and once the problem gets solved, we often don't hear back. And I like to think that it resulted in some positive results for the child. I mean, that's why we do this, you know. We're not just doing this just because we like banging our heads up against brick walls all the time, but we really want to see positive results for our kids. So, you know, looking at suspension rates is another thing we really need to pay attention to. We're quickly running out of time. I'm telling you, I cannot believe that this half hour is almost over with. But I wanted to also draw your attention to a recent article in the Times-Picayune. It talks about special education enrollment numbers show that the Orleans Parish School Board charters are lagging in serving children with disabilities. And that is strictly due to them having those selective admissions policies policies that I like to turn around and say they have discrimination policies, because I mean the data is showing it. The Orleans Parish charter schools only serve 5.5% of children, of their population of children with disabilities, and that number hasn't changed from 2011. Whereas you can see some of the other schools, it has gone. Their numbers of serving children with disabilities have gone up, and it's just never okay to discriminate. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care what your school's mission is. You should not discriminate against children with disabilities. And, everybody wants to put their children in an Orleans Parish School Board charter or Orleans Parish School Board direct run school. It's troubling that their direct run schools have slipped. They used to serve, in 2011, they were serving 12.1% of the population was children with disabilities, and now it's only 9.9. But it's going to take us as parents pushing back and on these schools, knowing what our rights are, pushing back, saying that we're not going to take it anymore. Our next radio show is going to be September 10th, but we do hope to see you on this coming Tuesday, August 27th at CC's Coffee Shop. And I also want to make a special announcement that on September 3rd at 1 p.m., I will be guest hosting Reverend Skip Alexander's show at 1 o'clock. And we're going to be talking parents in the public school system. People are always talking about, the parents are not involved, So if you are an involved parent, call in on Tuesday, September 3rd at 1 o'clock, when I'll be hosting Reverend Skip Alexander's show. I want to thank you all. Lynn, is there anything else you want to add before we close it out?
Well, we can mention about our positive behavior support training. The second day is Saturday.
Oh, that's right. We have the second day of our positive behavior support training on this coming Saturday. Give us a call at 504-899-1505 if you'd like to come to that training. And one other thing, on August 28th, we're going to be commemorating the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. Give us a call again if you're interested in more information about that event. Thank you very much, and remember that you are not alone.